From live atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, working without a net. Where the hell is my teleprompter screen? What the hell am I supposed to do without my teleprompter screen? Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America and all ships at sea. Welcome to live stream number 1. I am your eponymous host and humble servant. If you're wondering what you are looking at on your screen, this is Ernie Shavers versus Muhammad Ali for the heavyweight championship of the world, 29 September 1977. Ernie Shavers just passed away this week, 3 days ago, I believe. And this is the crowning achievement of the man's life right here. He was one of the great heavyweights of the 1970s. If you talk to a fight fan who remembers the 1970s, you say the name Ernie Shavers, that person is going to say, yeah, I love me some Ernie Shavers, because Ernie Shavers was a heavyweight. There was no artifice in Ernie Shavers. He was going to get in there and throw you his best shots, take your best shots. He won a lot. He lost more. I believe he had something like 68 knockouts out of 72 victories. So that's how hard this guy hit. This fight, this night, 1977, Ali is 36 years old. He's on the tail end of his second reign as the champion. He's about a little over a year before he lost the title to Leon Spinks and then regained it, and that was his third reign. And Ernie Shavers is a few years younger. He's 33. He's been a top 5 heavyweight for much of the last decade, but this was the first time he ever got a title shot. It was the only title shot he would ever get. And he goes the distance with Ali, almost knocks him down in the second. And then Ali pretends to be more hurt than he really is. Tries to make Shavers punch him out. It almost works. The middle rounds are a real back and forth seesaw contest. And then the last couple rounds, the 14th and the 15th, are a couple of the greatest rounds in boxing history, basically. If you can watch this fight and not be a fight fan afterward, I can't help you, because this is character versus greatness versus effort versus two great fighters at the absolute top of their game. And I feel like it is fitting and proper to pay tribute to Ernie Shavers tonight, because he was a fine American and a good and decent man who spent the entirety of his post-boxing career mostly trying to help people who were less fortunate than him. And I think this is a good thing to play in the background tonight. And we are joined by my good friend, Caucasian Sasquatch. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm absolutely fantastic. I appreciate you having me.
No, great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Wouldn't miss it for the world, man.
So how are you with boxing history? Are you much of a fight fan?
I did every single report or study or anything I had to do in high school. I did it all on Muhammad Ali and William Tecumseh Sherman. That way I didn't have to do the research more than once.
Yeah, exactly. You write what you know. Writing what you know is the best way to write.
Muhammad Ali he was born Cassius Clay, became Muhammad Ali, was one of the most quintessential boxers in American history. Regardless of his political affiliations, he brought a level of showmanship to the ring that has not been seen since, except perhaps Prince Naseem.
Yeah.
But I may be saying that name wrong.
No, I think you're saying it right. That's about the same as I would say it.
Okay. I've just seen it.
Yeah, and
I've never actually.
And with Ali, as a boxer, you almost have 3 different careers there contained within one career, because you've got, in the first part of his career, the
Golden Gloves run,
the phenomenally physically gifted fighter who had skills that no heavyweight before or since could match, and then he gets taken out of the game and comes back for his second act, where he's still got most of the physical skills, but he's added a bit of mental acumen and gamesmanship to it as well.
Power. He was already a
Yeah.
powerful
Yep.
puncher, but when he put on that extra 30, 40 pounds, 50 pounds, suddenly he was a bone breaker and a bruiser, which is something he wasn't as a younger boxer. He would hurt you,
Exactly. And
but he wouldn't hurt
yeah, a guy who earlier in his career might have been hard pressed to go 15 rounds with Ernie Shavers,
you,
but
right?
at age 36 with the extra bulk, then he could do it.
His ability to retreat on a punch was absolutely amazing. If you
Yep.
watch his head really close, as soon as that glove makes contact with his skin, it looks like it hits him, but it doesn't. That's him moving his head with the glove just enough, no more
And
than that.
that's the thing above all else that won him the first Sonny Liston fight. When he first took the Liston couldn't believe that this guy was actually pulling back and avoiding these punches he was throwing, because that just shouldn't be possible.
Until Liston
And
cut, Bip, and then he'd move.
Yep.
It wasn't a slow reaction. He waited to show Liston that I am fast enough that you cannot hurt me. Although if Liston never nailed one on him, I do believe that would have been all she wrote. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it would, if Liston would have connected solidly, that would have been a much different looking fight. Probably not the second fight, because Liston was just looking for a place to fall down. But the first fight, yeah, definitely. But that's how good Ali was in the first part of his career. He could slip that punch, and he knew it was only going to miss by half a centimeter, but it was damn well still going to miss. That was how quickly he could move his head.
He would move his head only enough so that the compression of the glove wouldn't catch him. He would let the glove touch him, which is amazing to me. If you've ever done any,
oftentimes it looked like the punch actually landed, but it didn't, because he was just moving his head with it.
He would let the glove impact his face, but move before the fist compressed the padding enough to cause damage. He'd just let it bump his head out of the way a little bit, and that's fine when you know it's going to happen, you know. And he also, if you watch really close, right before it hit, he'd twitch his head to one way or the other and slide it. And it's something he did instinctively that you don't see a lot of boxers do even today.
And always slid just the right direction, just the right amount, just absolutely uncanny.
Probably my favorite boxer in history.
I guess I've been remiss in not welcoming the people who are here. Hi, Queen Bird. Hi, Blue Unicorn. Feel free to start saying pithy things.
Yes, do the pithy things. We're waiting for those.
Do the pithy things.
Before
I'm not funny enough to carry this thing all on my own.
I might be, but I'm not going to do it because
he might be. Definitely not me.
I want to thank Queen Bird for bringing you to my attention, because I really do enjoy what you do, and I might enjoy it too much. It gives me a nostalgia for Dennis Miller that is probably unhealthy, quite frankly. And it's Dennis Miller saying the right things and not just being a butt pumpkin like he is sometimes. You know, you've got that. I don't know how to explain it. It's just the way you talk. It's just you. I've talked to you backstage. It's just you. That's the way you deliver yourself, and it's brilliant. It's perfect for YouTube. You may have to start a new channel to get taken off real good, but you'll definitely make it if you stick at it, dude. I swear to God.
Yeah, that's something that's actually been in the back of my mind, because I know that a lot of people have done that, do a new channel launch, and then that sort of elevates them to the next level. But I don't think that I'm sure exactly when is the right time to do that, or the right way in which to do that. And you know a lot more about YouTube than I do. So
I've been doing it for exactly a year and 3 weeks, 2 weeks. That's it. Before that, I was a comment troll that basically promoted channels by being a mod to different channels. So I was a mod for like the channel that later became Podcasts of the Lotus Eaters like years ago. And so I'd go find tiny channels that needed, you know, just a little poke to get going. You know what I mean? Just a little more gas in the tank to get started. Go help him.
All right, I'm trying to get used to the thing of clicking the comments to show them on the main screen. I'll get up to speed here pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, you'll get it. It's not hard. You just got to do 27 things at once and think 5 dimensions.
Yeah, that's all there is to it, right?
While talking and holding a conversation, it shouldn't be a problem.
All I have to do normally is read a freaking teleprompter screen.
I don't even have one of those, dude. I haven't figured out how to make it happen. Not that I would.
Oh, and I've also been remiss, just in case Lady Curmudgeon is watching. Happy 29th anniversary. This is also this is also the second anniversary of my very first YouTube video, so I guess it was a fitting day to do the first live stream.
That's beautiful, bud. Hell, that might be worth a drink. I don't know. We'll see how far Sasquatch goes tonight, and then we'll decide.
Are we 3 minutes in? Am I allowed to drink yet? You said it was a 3-minute rule, right?
Something like that. It's something like 3 minutes.
I'm just going to drink anyway.
Go for it. I got a few screwdrivers in the back of the truck. Probably shouldn't have in the truck. I don't drink often, but what I do, it's debilitating.
Go big or go home, I say.
Dude, they're going to have to carry me home. I'm one of those people that'll shut down the bar and then pay them $50 to keep it open a little bit longer. I will drink.
I couldn't even tell you the last time I went to a bar.
Oh, I've been kicked out of every bar in the county. Apparently, bouncers can't take jokes. Bartenders are pussies.
It actually just occurred to me not long ago that I have not been outside of this county since 2019.
Oh, well, I'm fixing to break all that crap down. I'm not coming to California. You're going to have to come out of that hellscape.
Yeah, I would not advise you to come to California unless you're going to wear your Wellington boots.
I'm well armed. I'm not coming to California. They're not taking my gun. It's not happening. I can't have it. No. See, here's the thing.
And I have no aspiration except to leave California. So,
well, there's plenty of land over here. Just don't bring the boating. Anyway, I have a truck.
I know. I don't understand why Californian expatriates do that. It is the most self-defeating enterprise you could possibly think of to leave a place and then immediately go to a new place and start voting for the exact same policies that wrecked the place you left.
But look at their children when they move away from California. Like 8 out of 10 of their children vote Republican within 2 years of their voting rights.
Is that right? I hadn't seen that.
Something like that. I don't know what the specific number is, but it's something like 75 or 80% of the children of Democrats that moved from California into wherever the hell they moved vote Republican the following cycle as soon as they can.
And even my kids who are, who have had a perfectly good non-woke counterpoint from their parents throughout their whole lives, even they are affected by just having come of age in a place that is politically insane. And we've been telling them and drilling it into their heads the whole time that one day when you're grown and you have the benefit of hindsight, you will be able to see that you came of age in a very politically extremist, crazy place where ideas were in currency that were extremely stupid ideas.
Well, they're just there to clog up the filters. That's all. There's nothing. Have you ever heard of Yuri Bezmenov? I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
Okay. Saint Yuri Bezmenov came forth from the land of his mother, Russia, to inform us of our undoing in our future time. And he laid it out step by step exactly how America would be dismantled from the inside. My favorite quote, the best one out of all of them, there might be a better one. This is my favorite. When the process is complete enough, you can present an individual with truth and incontrovertible evidence, and they will not be able to recognize it as such. Welcome to the world of tomorrow.
Yeah. Or the world of today as we know it.
Yeah. I think we might be living in a future dystopia.
If of course, because, and would anybody know it if they were living in a future dystopia? Because it's not like we are way too consumed by the idea of an ever-present present right now, an Orwellian present, if you will, where things from the past are simply rejected out of hand because they are from the past. And so we have lots of self-styled intellectuals today who are all too happy and all too eager to simply reject hundreds of generations of learning and understanding and wisdom just because it comes from people who are dead. And that's an extremely dangerous. That's what got us the French Revolution and lots of other instances of.
It comes down more to like that's Robespierre and stuff. I've read that too.
Yep.
That whole the democracy is the method by which 51% disenfranchise the 49. It's two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner.
That's one of my favorites. I love that one.
And it's you. Congratulations.
Yep. And it's me.
Right. I mean, I mean, there's a lot of this stuff that comes up that I just don't believe were ever legitimately voted for. You've got things like, I mean, you could go big if you wanted to and talk about the Federal Reserve or the.
Yeah, we should go big. We shouldn't be afraid to go big. There's big things that urgently need to be done, so we damn well should talk about them.
True, but are you sure YouTube is the proper forum upon which to have that discourse? And is a random individual who calls himself Sasquatch worthy of that platform? I mean, I do a lot to keep people from taking me seriously, and it works too well sometimes.
Just the same, I would place more credibility in you than I would in anybody who works in the corporate fake news media.
But you met me. You talked to me when nobody was watching. I've never talked to Brian Stelter alone. I think it might be an interesting consideration if I did.
Oh yeah, probably so. And he probably would be very little like the character he plays on television.
Of course, then again, I don't generally frequent bus station bathrooms, so it's not like.
Oh, well played, my friend. Well played indeed. Even though you just insulted 85% of CNN's viewers with that remark.
Or you meet a whole bunch of bus lounges and train terminal stations. I'm good with it.
Yeah. the most trusted name in empty bus terminals.
Damn right. Absolutely amazing how they pad their own results to get the results they want. It's almost as if there's this bleak cabal of controllers out there running every single step of this game out as if it were game theory. Wonder what happens game theory against them.
The most precious thing with CNN is that there seems to be this belief that if they just get rid of a couple of the worst, highest profile people, your Brian Stelter and your Chris Cuomo and the dude who jacks off in front of his coworkers during work meetings, that's just going to rehabilitate the brand.
Nope.
Sorry, not going to happen.
Rotten to the core, but beyond that, from the top down. The issue I have with that process is it's very similar to what police do to absolve themselves of previous issues. They fire the chief, right? The chief of the chief, right? Not the sheriff. Sheriff's elect, chief is appointed. They fire the chief and say, "We got a brand new police department." No, you don't.
The whole culture is going to change now.
Yep, it's all better. Boy, am I glad I cleared that right up. Right?
Yeah.
It's just it baffles me, and that's the same process.
And oftentimes they are just elevating the number two person who has been ensconced in that same culture in that same department for just as long as the guy you just fired,
or long,
which is what we had with the FBI. That's how Chris Wray got hired to run the FBI, and how much good did that do?
It got Mar-a-Lago search.
Yeah,
and they know for absolutely certain that it was not Ivana Trump's wardrobe that killed JFK. They now know that.
You're damn right. They did not find the smoking gun in Melania's lingerie drawer, and I, for one, am deeply relieved.
Yeah, did I use the wrong name? Oh, my bad. That's the downside of not following politics. My jokes don't
Oh
hurt.
yeah. You said Ivana, didn't you?
I think I did. Wasn't that number 2?
Yeah, she's dead now, but I'm sure she will forgive you. Fell down the stairs. Hell of a way to go.
Yeah, it was convenient. I get to stuttering when I start telling the truth. My bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at him move, man. Look at
Oh,
him.
did you hear about the guy in Russia, the head of the? I guess he was the head of the biggest oil and gas company in Russia, and one day there's this announcement. Oh, he fell to his death from a hospital window.
On
Oh
a bunch
well.
of 2 behind the ear. He just happened to fall on a couple of
Yeah.
22 rounds.
He shot himself twice in the head and then
Natural
accidentally fell
causes.
out of a 6-story window. Darn
Naturally,
it.
fuck with the KGB, you die. That's natural causes, bro.
Yes. Russian natural causes. That's exactly what that is. 2 in the head and then a 6-story fall.
Damn right.
Died of old age.
Vanilla Ice don't know how good he had it.
Oh, good call.
I'm sorry. I'm a bad person. I'm a
Oh,
very
yeah,
bad
no, you just hit that one out of the park, and you should take your time circling the bases.
Oh, no, man. I'm gonna do it at a dead run because you punks need to swing again.
Oh. I love me a good Vanilla Ice joke.
They're rare. It's hard to do. And for it to hit land, it's hard. He's usually cringe.
I know it's a shame there's so many people now who are too young to remember Vanilla Ice, so you have to explain the jokes now.
Will you permit me to shout out a channel?
Yes.
It's pertinent to the conversation at hand to a degree.
Be my guest.
I believe the name of the channel is Marty Robbins Project or Marty Ray Project, one or the other. And he
Wasn't
does.
Marty Robbins a country singer from the 50s?
He might be a country singer. Marty Ray, I think.
Oh, he's the guy who sang El Paso. I love that song.
Awesome. Marty Robbins
in the West Texas town of El Paso.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll stop.
Catch a track. They don't like that one. Suddenly, I want to finish that line. I'm having some OCD problems with it. Oh my God, it's stuck in my head now. We have to listen to it all night. Thank you. It's a great song.
I know, it's a great freaking song, man.
I appreciate it. Oh Lord. I think it's Marty Ray, but he does an acoustic version of Ice Ice Baby with a mix of Sabotage that is absolutely brilliant.
Wow.
It sounds crazy, Sabotage, but he does it. He pulls it off like a medley. He pulls it off without a hitch. It's amazing. It's great.
My favorite thing about Vanilla Ice was during that year and a half when he was, maybe it wasn't a year and a half, closer to a year, when he was, one of the world's top recording artists, and he went to interview after interview after interview saying that the bass line from that song didn't come from Queen,
wasn't stolen directly off of.
No, I never heard Under Pressure before. I made up that bass line right off the top of my head because it's got one extra note in it. See,
radio, it just came to me.
Jesus Christ! YouTube's playing ads. Oh, there we go. It's over.
Of course they are. No. Okay, so you have a choice here. You can go and sign up for the 1 month free trial of premium, right? And then when it's done, either pay for it or let it lapse. But you can make a good hard run at some lives for that month. And you've got a free, 20 hours free with StreamYard. So you should be able to pull off about 16 shows if you schedule them tight and we all work together cleanly. But you just have to remember one thing: do not enter StreamYards when you're not actually planning to stream really soon, because every minute, even as a guest, somebody else's panel, it counts against you. So, pro tip: go set you up a secondary email address and sign up for StreamYard using it to use as guest slots, so you can go see people with your name on the screen and everything. Right? That way, it doesn't burn up your actual free showtime you have. Or you could pull.
See, that's why I keep the professionals around, ladies and gentlemen, for tips like that.
I learned it the hard way. I eat up 20 hours in trying to get one show done.
Yep, you learned it the hard way, so I didn't have to. Everybody wins. Well,
And my entire After Dark show is me basically screaming at the top of my lungs, "Don't do what I did. It was horrible."
to answer your question, Joe Cool, yes, that is Ernie Shavers. This is Ali versus Shavers, 29 September 1977,
That's
which I thought we would play in honor of Shavers, who just passed away a few days ago, and this is the crowning achievement of his career. So that's what we're watching, and fantastic fight.
That Joe Cool in the chat is one of the premier auditors of the, I guess you'd call it, Northern Midwest around Chicago.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think he's traveling right now, but yeah, no, he has some esoterica knowledge that impressed me. He came in and started talking to me about giant birds, and he was quoting books I had read, basically. I don't know if he meant to, but the same accounts, right, that I read coming up, and was like, okay, so big birds might exist or whatever. He was agree with all of them. And I was like, okay, all right. And he's backed me into a corner a couple of times. So if he was to pop up backstage, make sure it's his ugly mug first. I can't see him. We'll work on an overlay or something for the next one. We'll get that worked out. We got to protect you. We can't let you go down because of silliness. Oh, somebody else's silliness. I ain't having it. No, sir.
That's right, Joe. Well, I mean, you can be of two minds on that. Ernie didn't win the fight, but he went the distance, and he acquitted himself pretty well against the greatest heavyweight who ever lived. So
right, he lived.
I mean, both men acquit themselves really well in this fight.
Oh, it's a great fight. It's one of the best.
That's why it's one of the best fights ever.
We used to we had a metal shop teacher when I was in high school who had a coronary about 3 weeks into sophomore year, I guess. And so we ended up going about 6 months without an actual shop teacher, with just, the senior students teaching the lower classmen to weld.
Yeah.
Absolute madness for a while. But for about 6 months, we watched nothing but Muhammad Ali fights, because for some reason the library had a full collection of them. So
that is awesome.
It was great. That and there's this one VCR in the library that had Highlander super glued into it. Don't know who done that. Sasquatch. But we watched Highlander a lot.
There can be only one.
When you go to the library, it's like, hey, we need a TV to VCR. Well, there's the Highlander one. It had a Highlander sticker on the side of the TV. It was great. Small town.
Yeah, there was in my history class at my continuation school, we had like 3 VHS tapes in the room to choose from. One of them was and of course they all had to be relevant to the study of history, but one of them was Glory from 1988. Matthew Broderick, Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman.
Oh, wow, man.
Fantastic movie.
And movie in 20 years.
I watched it so many times. I probably still know it by heart, but a great picture, and also a story that not enough people are aware of from that war. And in fact, I'm reminded just now that during the BLM riots in 2020, the monument in Boston to Colonel Shaw and the 54th Massachusetts actually got spray painted and vandalized, which is, I don't even know what to say about that, except that it's shameful.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to be a bum right now. I'm sorry, I'm clout chasing. I can't help it. It's in the blood, baby. It's in the blood.
Clout chasing.
No, one of my guests that I had come on, came at me trying to be all hot and heavy and troll on me and stuff. And my response was, "Is there any chance I could interview your beard?" He's like, "What?" I was like, "I'll send you a link immediately. Just let me talk to your beard for a second. Just shut up and let me talk to your beard." He showed up. His name was Car Thief News. He actually showed up when I was like, "Come on
Oh
over
yeah,
here."
I know that guy.
Yeah, he's cool. He's cool beans. Not quite right upstairs, but he's good people. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
many
let him
people are
challenge
not.
my
Right.
capabilities
I
at all.
mean, but maybe they are right upstairs, and it's we who aren't. You never know.
Oh yeah. But I mean, what can you do? You live your life as well as you can, and you make the best wine you can with the sour grapes thrown at
Yep.
you.
Over.
There you go. You found the button. That
Yeah, I found it a while ago. I sometimes lose track. You're right. You have to do a serious amount of multitasking here. It's only 3 or
yeah.
4 things at one time. It's quite a lot more things than just reading a damn teleprompter screen.
Also, you're missing about 3 windows that you should have open as general protection. You should have at least your direct whatever YouTube is connected to email open in the background over there, so that if this is copyright claimed or whatever, they're going to douche you out. You'll get an email. They'll tell you you'll get about 5-10 minutes to get it off the screen, and they'll let you go after that. Usually, sometimes.
Yeah, I opened up my email when you told me to open up my email, but so far so good. I haven't gotten anything.
Oh, you should be fine. They would have burned that thing down in the first 20 minutes if it was going to happen. Probably. I mean, I'm not saying I can predict YouTube. I mean,
Yeah,
forgive
and
me.
I mean, I can't imagine it's the type of content that gets very many copyright claims on it. But who knows? You're the expert, not me. Here we
Oh,
go.
wait,
There's another ad for something or other.
yeah. Well,
Now here we go. That's the first time an ad has ever been played on my channel.
let's take it time. You're now officially monetized. Is that how that
I'll
works?
never get monetized, but I have had ads played on my channel. There you go. I've reached the top of the mountain.
Absolutely. All right. So, did you have a particular subject, or did you want to talk about whatever came to mind, or do you want to go over
Whatever
this?
damn thing comes to mind. If
Oh,
you've got something on your mind, then I would be more than happy to hear it and comment on it. And
my
if not,
observation
then we can just hopscotch around.
on this particular battle, because I wouldn't have even called it a bout, it was a battle, was
It
the
was,
effect.
yes, you're damn right. It is a battle. It is a battle between warriors. Straight up warriors.
And they are not just standing around beating on each other. Uh, Shavers chases Muhammad Ali around that ring for almost 2 hours.
Yep.
And Muhammad Ali runs for almost 2 hours. Was it an
And
hour and 27 minutes or something?
Shavers is supposed to be a guy who had no stamina, which makes this performance all the more impressive from his perspective.
It is. At this point in time in Muhammad Ali's career, there might have been 3 boxers who could have actually gone the distance with him, and Shavers wasn't one of them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He was at the top of
Yep.
his game, but he was I just don't believe he was actually in a league with Muhammad Ali. I mean, look, Muhammad Ali's just standing there just absorbing it, everything he throws. Shavers
No,
can't
yeah,
even
and
put gloves up anymore.
and that is how damn good Ali was, because this fight is the absolute best fight of Ernie Shaver's life. He goes
Right.
the distance and he still can't beat the guy.
And I believe part of the reason this fight went so long was early in the bout. I can't remember. I think it was like round 2 or 3. Ali lays one on Shavers that should have sent him to the angel, and instead Shavers just shook it off and came back in on autopilot, and it worked.
Yep.
He stayed on his feet. He went to the corner. He got him a breather, and when he came back, he was made out of steel. I mean,
And I believe the quote from Ali after this fight was, "Shavers hit me so hard it shook my kinfolk back in Africa."
right, dude.
And that's not a thing that Muhammad Ali says lightly.
No, it's not. And look at him. Look at the way he's fighting. He is wrapped up because he has had his bell ring.
Yep.
He is hiding, and he is letting his arms and his upper body and his gut take everything it has to protect that head because he's already sluggish. That early
And we're in the
shot.
middle. We're in the middle rounds now, so this is becoming an endurance contest. So
Mhm.
there is a lot of strategery happening here.
Strategery. I'm gonna make that an NFT, buddy. You just made me strategery of Muhammad Ali. Quoted. You heard it here first, folks.
That's got kind of a nice flow to it, actually.
Let's see.
Strategery of Muhammad Ali.
That sounds like a book that was written way too late on far too many drugs in LA
Yeah.
or Las Vegas, would be my guess.
See, I got that line from back when Saturday Night Live used to be a comedy show.
And not a political discourse of one side.
Yeah, not a god awful, stultifyingly unfunny, just political
I haven't seen
bitch
it.
fest.
I refuse. Pretty much
Yeah,
mid 2006 or 7, I say. I was sitting there one night eating a Snickers and probably far too much dope. And
there's Ollie talking shit to the crowd.
right. And I had a sudden epiphany that this sucks. This absolutely sucks, and I want no part of it. I changed the channel, and everybody in the room just turned and looked at me, and I shrugged, and nobody said nothing. And from then on, I think we watched Friends at that time.
Dun, 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 dun.
Right? I'd like them to redo that with Hindi people. I think that would be hilarious. Maybe Eskimos have them all in an igloo.
You know, Lady Curmudgeon just recently started watching reruns of Friends, and the first time I heard that theme song hit, it was like being transported in a time warp back 25 years to when she used to watch the show all the time.
Dude, my first roommate when I moved out of my parents' house, my very first roommate was a 21-year-old woman who had an unhealthy fixation on Jennifer Aniston and the greasy Italian looking dude. It's always like anyway, Joey.
Joey, how you doing?
That guy. Unhealthy fixation. So for almost a year and a half, anytime, any waking moment of this woman's life was involved in watching Friends on at least 2 different TVs in the apartment. Nothing I
Yeah,
can do about it. If I put on
yeah,
something,
and
I have to go to the
that's
bathroom.
not an exaggeration. People were that obsessed with that show.
She might still be. She was a bit of a fruit.
Yeah,
She only stabbed me once though, so you know, I ain't got no hard feelings.
all small victories, right?
But you cut your losses with some. You just cut
One
off
stabbing, non-fatal, could be worse.
True, I suppose. 6 times she stabbed me with a ballpoint pen. Got my nut though.
I say that having never been stabbed myself, so it's easy
I
enough
don't
for me to
advise
say. I
it, man.
suppose.
Even the stitches suck afterwards. And what's worse is like a week or 2 later when you go get the stitches out, they just got to cut your ass back open to go get them. It's the most retarded thing
Oh,
I've ever seen. I was like,
yeah,
screw that.
we need to perform surgery to take your sutures out.
And that's not the first time I've had it happen to me. I had a bone spur removed, and the $400,000 specialist that they used to do it, well, yeah, he left one of the little metal staples on the inside. So 18
Ooh.
months later, I'm sitting around with my freaking arm itching and it's hurting like hell, and I can't figure out why. When, oh lordy me, I found me a piece of metal sticking out of me. That doesn't seem normal. No, you can't sue them.
Yeah, I hear you. That my grandpa died because they left a gauze pad inside him after a hip replacement.
Oh man, that's almost worth a hit.
I think it's worth a hit.
Like
Maybe even 2 if we're being technical.
back of the head. Oh wait, no, I think we're going 2 different ways. Totally different philosophy, I guess. I might have to go get me some whiskey to drink. Apparently, it's Sunday in Georgia. We suck. See my dumbass walking around the local. What's that place called? Oh, I hate it when I draw a blank on simple things. Local grocery store. Walking around with like 2 armfuls of daiquiris. Then I realize it's Sunday, and I'm like, Damn, damn, Georgia sucks.
Oh, because they've got Sunday liquor laws, right?
Yeah, but only at, like in counties and towns that are not in metropolitan areas. You can pretty much
Oh.
in some places in Atlanta go to a convenience store and buy a fifth of bourbon. Savannah, there's a couple of places I think are like that. There's certain districts where such stuff are permitted, but for the most part in Georgia, hell, half the counties, I think 5 counties in Georgia are still dry. Yeah, think
Yeah,
that
there's
way.
some. I think there's some in Kentucky too, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that's they share borders. They're all over there together.
And I'm reminded of this time I went to Philadelphia. Just
Excuse me.
innocently off the boat from California or the plane from California, as the case may be. All I wanted to do was get a 12 pack. So
Nope.
first place we go is 7-Eleven, because where I come from, that's where you go when you need to get beer. We go in, we don't see any beer. We come back out. We must have been looking extremely confused because there's a couple of cops standing there. They just start laughing at us. They go, what's the issue with you guys? We said, where do we have to go? Why can't we get beer at 7-Eleven? They just start laughing their asses off.
Yeah,
You thought you could get beer at 7-Eleven? Oh, that's hilarious.
as if there are
Eventually,
no other locations
we
on
we wound up having to drive around and ask strangers on the sidewalk where to go to get a 12 pack of beer. And eventually we are directed to some side street in some god awful neighborhood, and that's where you have to go to get your beer. Talk about culture shock.
right?
That was far more than I was prepared for. I didn't know there was any place in the United States of America where you had to conduct a espionage operation to get a freaking 12 pack of Budweiser or
Right.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
I hope
right
we
on
didn't
there.
get Budweiser. I hope we got something better than Budweiser after that whole ordeal. But you see my point.
I do see your point, and I have a experience in the other direction. It was one of those where it just jumps up, slaps you in the face, right? So
Mm.
pre-Katrina, I think it was about 2004. I went to New Orleans for a week, the week after Mardi Gras. So like this place is adrift with ticker tape and beads all over everything, and the city's running around and cleaning it all up. And so I'm there visiting my wife's brother, and we're staying at a place over, quote unquote, on the edge of the hood. That's the way it was described to me. I'm like, that's cool, whatever. We get there, and dude tells me, he says, don't go across the street. He said, you walk all the way around this block, just do not cross the street in any direction. I was like, okay, fine. So the first night we're there, I go for a walk around the block. I see this dude passed out in the freaking gutter, wrapped up on a handle of Jim Beam, about half inch. He is freaking blasted. Blue lights hit. Cops pull over. I'm like, oh man, here we go. I'm reaching around looking for my phone. Cops cop
Uh-oh.
out. Hey man, hey dude, you all right? You okay? And they take his liquor and set it next to a tree. We're gonna set you over here next to the doorstep so nobody will run over you. All right, man. All right, thank you. And they set him next to the doorstep on the sidewalk. Put his handle back in his lap and got back in the car and drove off. And I stood there with my phone. I was so flabbergasted I forgot to film it. I was like, and I said, "What the hell?" So I going around the block, get to the other side of the block. There is a full size like interstate highway cone, the big 55-gallon job, in a
Mhm.
pothole that covers half the cone. The big one. It's bigger than the cone and half as deep as the cone is tall. Got a little flashy light on top of it. Whole bunch of Chads and a little hatchback come rolling through with it completely bottomed out. Probably 7 people in that place in that thing. One of them pops the hatchback, rolls out backwards, plants his feet, and one of the most beautiful little kip overs I've ever seen in my life. He landed it. I mean, I held up, a 10 on my count because that was beautiful. And he
Hold
snatches
up
up
the card.
sideways, puts a tape measure across it, says, "Yeah, it'll fit," and then falls back into the hatchback. And they pull the hatchback as close as they can, and they drive off with it blinking. And I went, "Wow, that was kind of cool. I probably should have filmed that." And then a Mercedes Benz come along and had its entire undercarriage ripped out from under it.
Ooh,
I'm talking the front wheel went one way and the back axle went another way, and the drive shaft was stuck in the hole.
wow, how about that?
So on the very next corner, there's a convenience store across the street. And I know what I was told. Don't cross it. Okay. I'm a grown ass man. I crossed that street and I went to that convenience store, and I very much regret that decision because it wasn't just a convenience store. It was also a liquor store and something along the lines of like a bar dive. People would buy their liquor at the convenience store and then go through the beaded curtains to the strip club that was in the back. But for all the
Yeah,
bars
yeah.
out front, it was a convenience store, you know, for convenience. But when you walk in,
Yeah,
right away,
it doesn't get much more convenient than that.
wow, strippers, food, liquor, cigarettes. And it looked like a normal house with a convenience store on the bottom floor. Just a little, okay, fine. So I went home. I went back to the place I was staying at, and I stood there and looked at that guy. I said, "Man, let me tell you, this place is an adventure in a block. I'm going to bed." And I took my pint of rum and I went upstairs and drank myself into oblivion.
Pint of rum should do it, right?
If I, all right, I can drink a pint of rum. I'm a normal person. Drink a pint of rum. I'll have a conversation with you. We sit and talk. I'll wake up the next morning and remember it. I drink a pint of rum, a pint of anything, and one shot, I turn into alcoholic monster that drinks cooking sherry under the freaking stove. I don't know who that guy is, but I don't like him.
Well, it's good to know one's limits.
Mm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is.
I'm not sure I could handle a pint of rum. I'm not sure I could handle a pint of any kind of liquor.
Oh, I'll funnel it. I
Yeah,
don't care. I can put it in as
I'm
fast
not,
as
I'm not really acclimated to liquor drinking. More of a lager man.
can't burp. Beer's out. I might be able to go
Guess
mean.
so.
Never had any that I liked.
So,
Ever had any
have you
meat?
heard about this movie, the Hunter Biden movie that's coming out?
All right, so I got a question about that.
All right.
Which side of this story are they going to be depicting? Are they showing the nitty gritty underground or the glossed over mainstream media version of it? How could they?
If it was the glossed over mainstream version, I don't think the picture would exist because it's been, I'm not sure exactly how the financing works, but it's a Breitbart production somehow because
Oh,
apparently
I,
Breitbart is getting into content creation now, just like Daily Wire is.
I was going to say, I guarantee you, the Daily Wire is somewhere back there, at least talking back and forth about that stuff. There's a few shows and movies that are coming out that don't seem to be bankrolled by the global wokeists,
And
and they're
it
doing
can't happen soon enough.
I think we need to suffer a little longer, brother. Hear me out. Hear me out. No great achievement ever came through lack of suffrage. We should suffer longer and have a better rebound. But I'm with it. It could break tomorrow and I'd be freaking glad. I'd be happy.
It seems like the establishment is really trying to get out ahead of this thing. Apparently, there were quite a few reviews that came out in the last couple of days from people who, admittedly, have not seen the picture, but are trashing it anyway because, well, we know exactly why they're trashing it because it's an anti-establishment narrative.
How in the world? How? Where? All right. You got to remember, this is something that baffles me, and I haven't been able to put it together in my head. My mom was a Democrat. She was a classic Southern Democrat, right? So I was raised on these basically moderate Democrat principles. My pops was Republican. They didn't vote because their votes canceled each other out, so they just skipped it, right? Okay,
That's
but
not a bad strategy.
it works. It works. It works.
Yeah.
So politics was never really a conversation in the house, but both of them had a swing at me for how things should work. And my mom is what they would call a bleeding heart liberal. Or we should all just get along, and everyone should give up their guns, but they shouldn't force you to take them or whatever, you know.
And we should
Nothing
just help out the
mandatory.
poor people.
Yeah. I'm not adverse to the concept, but the mechanisms involved just don't permit it. Every single step of involvement with people involves people taking from the money given to the people who need it.
You're damn right it does.
$9.4 billion, I think it was 2006, to our homeless outreach programs in 5 major cities, if I remember right. You know how much of it actually reached the homeless? Somewhere in the neighborhood of like a quarter billion in each city. 5 cities, 9 billion. Less than
Yeah,
half.
because when you pass initiatives like that, ultimately the main thing you're doing is building monuments to bureaucracy, where bureaucracy
That's a
can
good
grow
point.
itself and enrich itself.
Administrators have only one function in any bureaucracy, and that is to create more things to administrate. That's how they
The
maintain their job security, and they
I,
get their friends jobs.
yeah, I believe the fastest growing job sector in this country in this century has been college administrators, and I don't doubt that for a moment.
I don't either. And there's been a distinct filtration process taking place on administrators down. They don't go for the owners. They don't go for whoever it is that's driving this whole thing is financing it from mid-level positions down. Very much like Mao's China's revolution, where they went for all
Yes,
the students and waited 10 years.
there's so much Maoist stuff going on in the United States right now, and so few people realize it.
Well, that's because they don't teach it in schools no more. They wouldn't want you to
Oh,
know what's coming.
yeah, we stopped teaching our kids that communism is bad, and that is insane.
I didn't. I hit my kids with various thought experiments on the regular. Okay, what do you think about this? Which, of course, my kids were all completely woke as all get out up until like 8 months ago, when they were sitting around and went, "Wait, that's stupid. That didn't make any sense." But it wasn't anything I said. It was something that they noticed like elsewhere. It had to do with somebody that they knew who identified a certain way, who was angry because in a conversation privately held by other people, they dead named them.
Yeah,
Was it?
there's this one anecdote, and that's why I think this entire population wide position.
Right? Mhm. It's hard to deal with, man. I have I have an elder friend of mine. He's maybe 74 or so, and he has this late 70s, early 80s concept of the entire universe. Basically, he believes they cannot print it unless it is true. They cannot print it. It can't be on TV unless it's been researched.
Imagine that.
He believes it. So whatever the TV tells him to do, he wakes up in the morning and puts on his dungarees and runs off to go do it because they told him to go vote Democrat. He's going to go do it. They told him to
And
go vote.
I too know people like that. I have coworkers like that who are of similar vintage, people in their 70s and 80s who just, well, that's the TV show that's the TV channel I watch. So in the morning, that's what I turn on, and whatever they say, that's what I think.
Miss Bird, Queen Bird, the real issue with him is that he was a fire chief and was inside of that authoritarian machine. See, here's the funny thing. We like to say we are a free nation, when in reality we are a quarter socialist. We finance partially socialized medicine, partially socialized police, fire, and emergency services. These
And
are
we
all
have a national old age pension plan too.
exactly. We have Social Security and all that. These are all socialist things. These are all what do they call them? Entitlement programs and whatnot. Almost
Mm-hmm.
every single one of these has been passed through misrepresentation by one side or the other. And
Yes.
and none of these things will actually help an individual unless they use it appropriately. See, I wouldn't know much about it because I've never qualified, even when I was homeless and starving. They just they just you can go get a job. Well, I've only been here for a week and a half. I'm doing day labor. What more can I do? I had one cheeseburger yesterday. I'm trying to fix my truck. Like it's either eat or get a starter. Which one's it going to be? If I get a starter, I
Yeah,
can eat.
I mean, if you're doing day labor, that's about the best you can do, right?
At that point, I mean, yeah. So I decided to change my entire philosophy on the situation, and I started working a totally different type of gig. I stopped doing day labor type stuff and trying to get on with construction that way, and instead, I would ride around with somebody until I saw a construction site, and I would get all my tools out and walk up on there over there and start building because they're all built the same way. You just have to prove you know how it's done. 9 times
And
out of
that used to be how you do it,
you can steal, but you can't do it anywhere there's a union.
right?
Not only is it against the law for you to do it, they'll stop that project and tear that wall down because you're not qualified by the union.
Yeah, and that's where unions
So,
are not necessarily the best thing because
well,
they're we want to have a society where a young man who is feeling industrious, who wants to go work and prove himself, he should be able to go show up at a construction site and offer to dig ditches and clean up trash and do that. That should be a thing
cut
that is
grass.
possible and encouraged.
Agreed. But that's not if you involve. All right. So Georgia's a what's referred to as a free work state. There are unions, but they have no binding power whatsoever unless you sign over your work rights. Right. So if you sign up for a union,
And
you
that's exactly as it should be.
right. Okay. Well, here's the end result. Depending on what type of a project you're working on, you may or may not have to deal with a certain amount of union propaganda that you're going to have to deal with. However, as long as you don't sign the paper joining the union, you get to benefit all the union benefits with absolutely none of the negatives. And when they show up trying to tell you you're not doing it right by union standards, yada yada yada, you can throw them two big old birds and shake your dick at them and go back to doing what
Beautiful.
you're doing. And when they go and try to get you fired, somebody will come out and tell you that you can't talk to union reps like that. That's not the way you do it. I think you need to check my contract. I'm here to work, not to talk to these powder puffs. So run along.
Yeah, back in the 90s, a few times they tried to unionize my trade and everybody just told them to fuck off each time. Nobody wanted any part of it.
I
Which
fell backwards into a union job. It was weird. Uh, I went to a seminar where I took a bunch of little tests. They asked a bunch of questions, and then they gave a really big, long, huge, in depth, like aptitude test thing. And I sent it in. I was bored and hungry, and they had free donuts. So I went in, sat around in the air conditioning for a few hours, ate me some donuts, got me some coffee, had a pretty good rest, and then went back out looking for work and shit. So, like a few weeks later, when I started getting job offers, I really didn't understand why they were coming or where they were coming from. But it turned out that seminar was associated with a union that was further associated with a company called Duke Floor Daniel, who happened to try to decide to build a power plant not far from where I lived. And so when they started the project, they went looking for assets they knew about in the area. I am in a small town. There's no assets here that's ever heard of this place. I was pretty much the only guy there. So they came in and handed me some blueprints and was like, "Does this make sense?" And I was like, "Are you
Yep.
building a jet engine or a freaking power plant? What is this exactly? Is this a propane jet engine you're working with here? That's pretty cool, dude." And they were like,
Yeah,
"Okay, you're
it's
hired."
pretty cool.
Right? Yeah. I was like, "Okay, you're hired." I was like, "Fine." You know what I ended up doing on that job?
Hmm.
$27 an hour in a time when $8 an hour was respected, running a shovel.
Can't complain about that.
No, sir. I was they had to pull me out of that place with a pair of claw hammers every single time the whistle blew. If there was anything else on this job site I could do, I was going to do it. 45, 50 is a nice paycheck. Time and a half. Oh, every single holiday. Mm-hmm. Double time and a half. Yes, sir. And they can't fire me because they say so. That's not my fault.
Yeah, and what we really desperately
In,
need is to
in a free work state, there can be union uh, functions, union things, union businesses. But for instance, y'all have White Castle. We have Crystals. White Castles is a union represented chain. Crystals is a free work represented chain. There is a little bit of overlap in them in certain states where there's like some counties are different and whatnot. But in a non-union state, if you're hiring locals, you're probably getting non-union people. Congratulations. They're probably better skilled and can do more stuff.
and here in California we have In-N-Out Burger, which is famously non-union, and the unions all hate them because of it, and they deal with, protests constantly, and because that is the mentality in states where union people hold all the power and all the influence, is that
I like that
they
this way.
if
You have
non-union people are trying to do business, then they must be destroyed.
right, exactly. Just like a government. You have the government,
Yep.
which is all the way at the top and can collect money from everybody. Then you have these mid-level mafiosos called the union who come in and jack some part of your check and then make you pay dues. And then if they come up short at the end of the year, they'll have a additional fundraiser where you have to pay more dues because they sucked. And then if you don't do the things that your union told you to do, you don't get decent work, which makes you a miserable bastard, probably an alcoholic kicking your own dog and stuff. Right. And this has
Mid-level mafiosos, that is absolutely perfect. I have
yes.
to remember that. I'm going to freely use that in the future.
You ever had a union representative try to intimidate you?
Yep.
I had to sit through it for 9 months on this job. Every Tuesday, they would have different people come in and try to convince the 20 people that were non-union to sign into the union. By the time
And putting a big guilt trip on you. Oh, why aren't you going to support your brothers?
everything.
Yep.
No. Let me tell you about this one bit, man. I'm sorry. This is just retarded. This is the same job during the same time period where I have not having all this union issues and stuff. When I was a kid, I grew a habanero pepper plant. To keep it from being forgotten, I decided to can the peppers that I got from the habanero pepper plant, right? These things are
Right.
about the equivalent of a bear spray. They made me cry making them. I ran everyone out of the house. I'm not even joking. You know how bad they can be. So
Get him, Ernie.
I had these things in the cabinet up there 3, 4 years, 5 years, soaking in vinegar and sitting around, basically nuclear salsa that glowed in the dark. If you dropped it, it might have gone off. Hot, right? I'm working at this power plant with people from all over the world, and I come across an Ecuadorian who was using pepper spray on his burritos. Legitimate, literal bear spray.
Really?
Yes, sir. I seen it with
Wow.
my own eyes, watering up as they were. So I told him, I said, I grew a habanero pepper like years ago. I got a couple of those up there. And he gave me $50 right off the top and said, bring it to me. I want to taste it. I gave him his $50 back and said, no one in Georgia will eat them. Here, I'll bring them on. So I brought 2 jars of them up to the place, and I gave one to my boss, who was a Texican who really liked hot stuff. He took one little nibble out of it, went put it in his truck in his lunchbox. It vanished out of existence, never to be seen again. The other jar was taken into the break room and set up next to a jar of relish with the word hot written on the side of it. And 2 hours later, I was being questioned by GBI about bringing chemical weapons into a federally protected site.
You're a damn domestic terrorist is what you are.
But here's the funniest part. While they're questioning me about 325 Latin indigenes lined up on that break tent and ate every bit of the evidence.
That's a beautiful story,
I'm
man. I
so
love that story.
They didn't have any. My boss come in and was like, "What? Ain't nothing in here. Everybody's fine. Let's go. He needs to go back to work. Come on." I'm sitting there with two dudes in black suits wondering whether or not I just fed an alien. I'm like, is Tommy Lee Jones going to come in here and search for me in outhouses, chicken house, barn house, frog house, down house, farmhouse, whatever? I don't know.
God bless Tommy Lee Jones.
God bless Tommy Lee Jones. It wasn't me.
You know, I don't think I have anything better than that we can close the live stream on. And since this is quite possibly the last Labor Day before, next Labor Day, we might all be sitting in an internment camp together somewhere. So I think that is an outstanding capstone.
And remember,
for my first ever live stream, and I credit you, sir, for delivering it.
You have to be my big spoon. I get cold at night.
Glad to do the duty if nobody else will.
Much love.
You got anything else, or can we close this thing out?
Close it out whenever you're ready, man. You did a fantastic job.
All right, man. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate it very much. Thank you, everybody, for watching. See you tomorrow, I guess. Labor Day. Yeah, I'll do a video tomorrow. Do not comply. Get off my lawn.